I'm Kelsey Probilski, a barbecue enthusiast and native Texan.
And I'm Jess Pryles, hardcore carnivore, live fire chef, and meat expert.
I've been all over Texas tasting some of the best barbecue in the state. But this time around, Jess is taking me beyond the pit to discover the people and places that make Texas barbecue so legendary. This episode, we're exploring the legacy of Texas cattle ranching and the flavors behind barbecue's time-honored traditions.
We're meeting a 7th-generation rancher honoring Western heritage and some pitmasters dedicated to preserving the history of Texas barbecue.
We headed to Pinkerton's Barbecue. Owner and pitmaster Grant Pinkerton is known for honoring the legacy of traditional Central Texas flavors. Grant, thank you so much for having us out. This is a beautiful tray of traditional barbecue.
Loving this bark. You've got that really nice dark bark. Are you just a salt and pepper guy?
Salt and pepper only.
Like, really? No hidden secrets?
100%. There's nothing to hide here.
Crazy tender brisket. So are you just doing this post oak thing?
Well, one of the things we do here that I think is really special is we cook with mesquite. And I think that adds a really nice Texas element to our barbecue that a lot of, you're not going to get if you go outside the state. And two, I think, especially with beef, it adds a really nice, earthy, kind of this dark, rich flavor profile to the beef that you really can't get with anything else. So for me, if it doesn't have mesquite, it's not real Texas barbecue.
Beef is such an important part of Texas history. It's huge to Texas barbecue, but you come from a line of cattlemen, right?
Right. So my great-great-grandfather on both sides, one of them rode on the Chisholm Trail and drove cattle for a period of his life, and the other one was a foreman on the Wagner Ranch.
That's incredible. What do you think that they would feel seeing that you're doing this today?
Well, I bet they'd be pretty full after they sat down for a tray with me. That's what we try to do here every day is kind of honor the past, kind of show people, this is classic Texas barbecue. We're not going to change. We're not going to do a lot of that stuff, but we want to do the simple thing kind of uncommonly well. And so that's kind of our mission. How
important do you think it is for people to be connected to where their beef comes from?
Well, I think it's really important, for everybody to have some background in knowing, where the food you consume comes from. It doesn't just come from the grocery store, right? It has a long journey before it gets there. It's really great if we can have more people kind of aware of the systems and the processes that go into taking a farm animal and putting it on your table so you can understand what drives price.
It's not just work, but it's care as well from the ranchers.
Absolutely.
As you would know since you're related to them.
Right.
Can you tell me more about the beef rib burnt ends?
Sure. So the beef rib burnt ends, that's what we've won the beef category world championship beef with twice. So we have our grand champion seasoning, and we build it out of kind of a mushroom powder base. We've been doing that for years now.
Umami.
Try to pack as much umami on the outside of that beef rib as possible. We have obviously finished with different types of pepper, white pepper, black pepper, all that kind of stuff. So we kind of want your palate to go through a journey as it goes and then finish with that super beefiness.
How did your barbecue journey get started?
When I was a young kid, when I was 12 years old, I loved meat, I loved fire. I'd already been grilling at that time. And I asked my dad for a barbecue pit for Christmas. And so he delivered, and I cooked a brisket. And I tell everybody the first brisket was awesome, and then the next 50 were terrible.
Would you say that you've perfected it now? I would, but would you?
It could always get better. I don't know how.
That's the consensus between people who make really good brisket. How did you make the jump between making barbecue in your backyard to then opening up an incredible restaurant?
I think a lot of people have a really great backstory that they've come up with for this amazing, passion-driven attempt at barbecue. But for me, it was kind of an accident. I started cooking for my friends. in my parents' backyard after I graduated from UT and got home and started doing this craft style stuff. And then, you know, all of a sudden, if you cook good barbecue, you get more friends, right? So my circle of friends started growing and I started taking it up to work. And finally, my boss sat me down and said, Grant, you don't have a girlfriend, you don't have any debt, you live with your parents, now's the time to be an entrepreneur, and you make great barbecue, so I think you need to start a trailer. And so that's literally how Pinkerton's Barbecue was born.
So you literally bribed your friends with barbecue.
I did.
Good for you.
I could be bribed by barbecue as well.
Good Texans can be bribed with beef. You know, one thing that's really important to me, especially given how Pinkerton started, that it was really like out of my backyard, was we wanted to bring our backyard to everybody else. So when I actually moved in here, our kind of theme, when you come to Pinkerton's, you're coming to our house for dinner. We want the customer service to be that way. We want the food to be that way. When we make the potato salad, we make it exactly the same way we did 6-7 years ago in my home kitchen. And when I opened this place, I actually lived upstairs. So you really were coming to my house for dinner.
This upstairs?
Yep.
Tell me more about this potato salad.
Yeah, that's my potato salad.
This
And that's
is
the
your
one thing on the
potato.
menu that it
Find
says
out, Grant.
Grant's potato salad. And when I was making it and working on the recipe, all that kind of stuff, we'd gone to my grandmother's house and she loved potato salad, so I was making it for her. And I pulled the pepper jar out of her cabinet and I went to shake it in there. The whole top came off and went in. So if you ever come in here and wonder why there's so much pepper in there, it was because of that day. And then I ate the potato salad and I thought it tasted great. And really, it has great acidity, great balance. The pepper in it complements the barbecue great. And honestly, a little bit of that and a little bit of barbecue, that's my favorite bite.
So this is basically the history of Texas in a timeline on a platter.
Yeah, I mean, this also like the Pinkerton family lineage all on one tray, so.
I can tell that your ancestors have to be proud of this because this is really incredible.
Thank you.
We're outside of Dallas in Weatherford, Texas at Saunders Ranch, a family-owned cow-calf operation dating back to the early 1900s. Here, every morning begins with a hearty cowboy breakfast prepared by the family's matriarch, Ann Saunders. Before exploring the ranch, we sat down with the family to join this time-honored tradition.
Heritage is all about all these wonderful people that belong to my family that are on these walls and all the great things that they've done.
So every cattle ranch has its own brand, or most of them. Why is yours special?
The reason that the Twin V brand is really special to me and my family is the way that it came together. My grandfather, TB III, put this ranch together to get everything that he really, really wanted. He ran a little bit short on cash, and so he looked to his sister, and she stake horsed him some money, and her first name was Vanita, and then he was married to my grandmother, Virginia. So he took the V out of his wife's name and the V out of his sister's name and put the two together, and that's how he came up with the Twin V.
It's in your blood.
Yeah, we was kind of born to it and bred to be that way.
Madeline, how does it feel to sit in a room filled with this kind of history?
It really is cool. It's very impressionable to people and ourselves, so we don't take it for granted. Yeah.
What would you want someone to know about how y'all treat your cattle if someone has never seen it before? What a rancher's relationship with their cattle is?
Well, I was harder on my children than I am my cattle and my horses, but
First and foremost, we're land managers, and cattle help manage land. Cattle are a useful tool in pastures and restoring growth and soil and all these wonderful things that the industry is now very involved in, which is awesome. So if we manage the land correctly, the cattle promote that, and it's a whole cohesive environment.
What do you hope to do with this ranch in the future? I mean, 7th generation, that's incredible.
Well, I've got my sister and then a set of cousins. There's 5 of us, and we'd all love and enjoy to just keep it together, and I think that's why we work hard. We got a cow horse trainer and a vet and The youngest is, I don't know what she's gonna do yet. We can all bring something to the plate to keep this together and for others to enjoy, and ourselves and our families.
Really jealous that you guys get to surround yourself with all this every day.
This is just part of it.
We landed at Micklethwait's Craft Meats in Austin. Much like Saunders Ranch, this local favorite understands how dedication and hard work make all the difference in crafting delicious barbecue.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. You right?
I mean, this beef rib is so big.
It's dino-normous.
It's weighing down the tray on one side.
Hey, stop. Hands. I'm kidding, you can use a fork.
Now I'm gonna do the hand.
Oh, this is the most traditional silverware you can get. Did you know?
Howdy, guys.
Hi.
Perfect timing, thank you. As we
Coming
excuse
in
my...
Ren, Tom, this is delicious.
Thank you very much.
How did you go about creating this?
Beef ribs, I think they came on the menu. It was a little while after we opened.
Everybody loves that beef rib, you know, it's just the massive size of it, and it's so fatty and tender.
You just
and
feel
iconic.
like a king when you hold it.
It's
I'm not gonna do that in
primal.
front of you. It is. Primal is a good way to say it.
Thanks, that's why they keep me around here. I love that you have barbacoa on the menu too. Barbacoa is kind of like, it's a very classic Texas tradition, although it's not always traditionally in Texas barbecue, right?
Right. Originally put you put the whole head in a hole in the ground. You know, of course, the whole thing's covered. And, you continue to add coals for 24 hours, and then you would pull the head out and pick it and all the juicy, yummy bits, and then you would feed the whole family on a Sunday. It's kind of a traditional thing. And so what we do, and how we do it is we just smoke it for about 3 or 4 hours, offset smoker, post oak, and after that we confit it in beef tallow, and with other little secrets here.
I just saw your eyebrows flare with excitement.
Beef tallow.
So it's usually we'll finish the process in the tallow, and then after that we pick it and
You were one of the first people in Austin to start doing this very craft style of barbecue. So I consider you like new old school, basically. Or old new school? What are we calling it here?
Are you calling me old?
I mean, I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad one of us did. Like, how did it evolve into that?
Well, I would say it's like anything else. We're just like one link in the chain of evolution. So maybe we're the missing link. I don't know. We're the tradition, respect is paid in the cooking process for the meats, and the part for us it was new. It's like, well, let's focus on everything else, and let's do it as well as we can. So we make our own pickles. We do all the sides from scratch. We make our own bread.
You make your own bread?
Yep. Yeah. Everything's made from scratch.
Amazing. It's interesting, because you have traditional Southern sides like grits. So you guys are taking the tradition, but you're taking it from other parts of Southern culture.
try to elevate it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like over the last 10 years, what was kind of perceived as the way barbecue had always been just changed suddenly, and I think there's more attention paid to like the quality of the sides and like the whole experience and the whole plate.
Even the quality of the beef, honestly.
Like a certain point when you taken all the quality knobs on your EQ and turned them up all the way to 10, and now it's the creativity knobs are getting turned up to 10, and it's just how the newer generation's taking what they've all experienced and worked with and learned and putting their own twist on it. Brisket is a kind of basic cut of beef, right? It's just a roast, and if you can take something that's perceived as being basic and do something special with it, then that's kind of a master of your craft. And I think baking bread is kind of the same philosophy you can apply to that. And if you can make really good white bread out of flour and water and yeast and maybe some butter, then it's kind of, in the same regard, it's a representation of what your craft is and how you do things.
It definitely takes a while to conquer both of those things. Barbecue, you really
it's a lot of nuance when you're working with basic elements. And,
absolutely,
basic ingredients, and understanding the nuance of time and temperature and all the things that go into beef or a loaf of bread.
I think the hallmark as well of this new traditional is really great quality ingredients too. Everything on your plate, from the homemade bread to that bark on the beef. I mean, the quality of the beef itself is just that next level.
And the homemade pickles.
And the homemade pickles.
We need to highlight these. Hats off.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers to Texas BBQ.
Texas BBQ.
Texas BBQ.
Next, we headed to Houston to check out Truth Barbecue. Nestled in a historic neighborhood, this place is about as close as you can get to authentic Central Texas barbecue.
So this is a huge pit room that we're in.
So we can fit a ton of meat on here.
How much meat?
Give or take 125 on briskets on all these.
Will you sell that in the day?
Can, depending on how crazy the line is.
Wild.
What is it about live fire cooking that you love so much?
The challenge. It's a challenge every day. I can go grab you 4 pieces of wood, none of them are going to burn the same. But what we do here is we kind of understand, this piece of wood's going to give me 5 degrees. A bigger piece of wood's going to give me 10, 15 degrees. And you really have to start to understand that. And it's everything is completely different. You're not just doing the same thing over and over again. And that's the challenge that I like. It's super hard to control. And I always tell people, especially when they've been cooking here for a while, I'm like, if you know how to work these pits and control fire, I'm like, it's limitless. There's so many different ways, and that's what I think is unique about it. And it's been around since, I guess, a little after the beginning of time, after they created fire. So
once you know how to control fire, a couple of things happen. 1, your barbecue gets good because your temperature is not doing this. And 2, you will never have a bad sear on a steak.
No.
What you just said, I think, defines what makes modern traditional Texas barbecue a craft.
Yeah.
Because you've got all of these elements where you're really studying even what the degrees of the wood is doing. Tell me a bit about how that works traditionally with what people like you are doing in the new school.
What's important, here at Truth, and especially with me and the guys, the brisket that I cooked 6 years ago is not the brisket that I cook today, and it probably won't be the same 6 years from now. So it's important to keep evolving and try to improve.
One thing that people can't see is how hot it is right next to this firebox. So let's go see the light.
Let's check it out.
This is beautiful. What do we have here?
So with sides, we got tater tot casserole, we have green beans, corn pudding, our Brussels sprouts. Then for some color, we got our house-made pickles, escabeche, some pickled red onions, and the best of the best, we have our house-made sausage, all beef, and then we have our brisket. We got a little bit of lean and a little bit of fatty in there, and then of course some Martin's potato bread.
Look at this piece of beef.
It's obscene.
Incredible. The one thing I'm really digging about this is the meat is very traditional Central Texas barbecue, but you're taking these traditional sides like Brussels rice, corn that we've had at numerous barbecue joints, and you're really leveling up with them. What's the story and the inspiration behind that?
There's so many places that you go to, and they focus so much on the meat, and the sides and everything are kind of an afterthought, and we didn't want that to be the case. We wanted you to be able to have, you know, like the whole thing from start to finish be fantastic. But we also wanted to have some stuff with a lot more color. But keeping it traditional, like with the stuff that you could see on other barbecue menus, but just trying to elevate it a little bit more to set us apart from everybody else.
What do you want people to think and taste and feel when they come and eat at Truth?
The simplicity of it. A lot of times people do too much to barbecue. We do extra steps, but you know, we're not injecting our meat. We're not, you know, using some crazy seasoning. We're keeping it very, very traditional. We're just taking the time and the effort that's actually needed to push it forward. We're not doing anything crazy, and that's what's great about this, like such a simple cut of meat. And like when you have, you're like, oh my God, what was that? It doesn't, like you wouldn't think that. It's like when you have a great steak for the first time. You want to taste the crust, and then you really want to taste the beef, but the textures and all that stuff. And that's what we want to recreate here.
Consider it recreated.
Thank you.
Why did you name it Truth Barbecue?
So I wanted to stay true to like where barbecue came from, the way it's been made for forever. You know, you go to Lockhart, those places, they're kind of eerie when you get inside. It's dark, they've been cooking that way for forever. You can see the yellowness from the smoke on the wall, and it's like a whole like experience. I always wanted to stay true because that's what drove me to get into this. Like what they were doing, they kind of paved the way, and I always wanted to stay true to what they were doing and keep that art aspect of cooking with live fire and the way it's been cooked for forever. And that's what's very important to me, and that's why we called it Truth.
What is Central Texas barbecue to you?
Just super simple barbecue. We use post oak, which is, there's a plethora of it in Central Texas. Our seasoning is salt, pepper, garlic, you really want it to be very beef forward and just complement it. Super simple rubs, and just a little bit of smoke. It's just as traditional as it can get.
More about the technique, less about the additives.
Yeah. Kind of where that technique came from. That source of wood and the way that they're cooking and everything, yeah. I think that barbecue will move into so many different directions. There's so many different traditions, and people are venturing out, and I think that's where that's going. That's where I want it to go. I always want to push my boundaries and different ways to cook barbecue and cooking with live fire.
It's been really nice to hear some of the traditional stories that we've heard so far. And we had a traditional cowboy breakfast at Saunders Ranch.
So good.
Yes. I've really enjoyed seeing the connection from ranch to barbecue.
Yeah. Ooh, and we had that massive beef rib at Micklethwait. That was really great.
We also learned, get it, the truth behind smoking techniques at Truth.
You're so punny. We ate all that brisket at Pinkerton's.
Yeah.
That was delicious.
Yeah. I'm still really impressed by the amount of hard work that goes into barbecue.
I think it's great to see the heritage is being preserved.
Yeah. Jess, thank you so much for joining me on this quest this season.
Oh, I think we make great barbecue buddies.
We're barbecue buddies.